What would you do if the person you loved most in the world was ashamed of you? If you enjoyed that question, please share, and subscribe to hear more stories like this. Tell us in the comments where you're watching from, because we love hearing from you. Amara stood outside the giant glass doors of the Riverside Grand Hall and felt her heart beating so fast it hurt. Her hands were shaking. She looked down at her uniform shirt, the pale blue one with the name tag that said Cleaning Services, and saw the brown stain near the pocket. Bleach. She had scrubbed 12 hospital rooms today, and the chemical smell still clung to her clothes like a shadow she could not shake off. Through the glass, she could see lights sparkling like 1,000 stars had fallen from the sky and gotten trapped inside. There were flowers everywhere, white and pink and gold, climbing up tall silver stands. A huge ice sculpture shaped like 2 swans sat in the middle of the room, and people in fancy clothes walked around it, laughing and holding crystal glasses that caught the light. This was her daughter's wedding. Mariana's wedding. Her beautiful, smart, successful daughter who had worked so hard to get away from the tiny apartment they used to share, the apartment with the leaking ceiling, and the neighbors who fought every night. Amara clutched the small gift in her hands. It was wrapped in yesterday's newspaper because she did not have money for pretty paper. Inside was a silver bracelet, not real silver, but it was the best she could afford. She had saved for 3 months to buy it. A car pulled up behind her, and a woman stepped out wearing a dress that probably cost more than Amara made in a year. The woman's perfume smelled like expensive flowers, not like the harsh soap Amara used every day at work. Amara took a deep breath and pulled open the door. The warmth hit her first, then the music, soft and sweet like honey. A man in a black suit stood just inside, holding a clipboard. His eyes moved over Amara, from her worn shoes with a patch on the side to her old brown coat that she had buttoned up to hide her uniform. "Can I help you?" he asked, but his voice said he did not think he could help her at all. His voice said she was in the wrong place. "I am here for the wedding," Amara said quietly. "I am Mariana's mother." The man's eyebrows went up. He looked at his clipboard, then back at Amara, then at the clipboard again. "I do not see your name on the guest list." Amara's stomach dropped like a stone into dark water. There must be a mistake. I am her mother. Mariana is my daughter. Before the man could answer, a woman appeared beside him. She was tall and thin, wearing a tight black dress and a pearl necklace. Her name was Ada, and Amara recognized her from the one time Mariana had brought her home to the apartment. Ada had not stayed long. She had looked at everything like it might give her a disease. "Amara," Ada said, and her smile did not reach her eyes. "This is unexpected." "I told Mariana I would come," Amara said, holding the newspaper-wrapped gift tighter. "She is my daughter." Ada stepped closer, and Amara could smell her perfume too, different from the other woman's, sharper, like lemons, and something Amara could not name. "Of course. But Mariana mentioned you might not be able to make it, your work schedule and all." It was not a question. It was a wall made of polite words. "I finished my shift," Amara said. "I came straight here. I did not have time to go home and change. But I could not miss this. Please." Ada's lips pressed together in a thin line. She looked at the man with the clipboard, then back at Amara. Finally, she sighed. "Stay near the back. The ceremony is about to start." Amara nodded quickly and slipped past him into the great hall. Her shoes made soft squeaking sounds on the shiny marble floor, and she prayed no one would notice. She moved along the wall, trying to make herself small, trying to disappear. The room was more beautiful up close than it had been through the glass. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling like frozen waterfalls. Round tables covered in white cloth held candles and more flowers. At the front of the room stood a wooden arch wrapped in roses, and beneath it waited a young man in a perfect black suit, Dylan, Mariana's husband-to-be. Amara found a chair in the very last row, tucked behind a tall plant with wide green leaves. She sat down and put her gift on her lap, covering it with her hands. Around her, people whispered and laughed. A woman in a red dress leaned toward her friend. "Did you see that woman who just came in? She looks like she just crawled out of a laundry basket." Her friend giggled. "Maybe she's lost. Maybe she's looking for the service entrance. Amara's cheeks burned hot. She stared down at her hands, at the rough skin and the short nails and the small cut on her thumb from this morning when she had been scrubbing a bathtub. The music changed, growing louder and sweeter, and everyone stood up. Amara stood too, her legs feeling weak. Then Mariana appeared at the end of the long white carpet that led to the flower arch, and Amara forgot to breathe. Mariana looked like a princess from a storybook. Her white dress sparkled with tiny crystals that caught every bit of light in the room. Her dark hair was pulled back in soft curls, and a long veil flowed behind her like a cloud. She was so beautiful that Amara felt tears start to fill her eyes. But as Mariana walked slowly down the carpet, her smile seemed frozen, like it was painted on her face. Her eyes moved across the crowd, searching, and then they found Amara hiding behind the plant in the back row. For just a second, Mariana's smile faltered. Her steps slowed. Something flashed across her face. Something that looked like surprise mixed with worry mixed with something else that Amara could not quite read. Then Mariana looked away and kept walking toward Dylan, and Amara felt a pain in her chest that was worse than any tiredness from scrubbing floors all day. As everyone sat back down, Amara's mind drifted backward in time, like a movie playing in her head. She remembered Mariana as a little girl, 6 years old, cried because the other kids at school made fun of her torn backpack. Amara had stayed up all night sewing patches onto it, making it into something special, something unique, so Mariana could hold her head high. She remembered Mariana at 10, coming home with a report card full of perfect marks, her eyes shining. "Mama, my teacher says I could go to college one day, a real college." And Amara had hugged her tight and promised, "You will go. I will make sure of it." She remembered working 3 jobs when Mariana turned 16. The morning shift at the hospital, the afternoon shift at the grocery store, the night shift cleaning offices downtown. Amara barely slept. Her body ached all the time. But Mariana needed books and a computer and money for the college entrance exams. She remembered the day Mariana got accepted to the big university across town, the one where rich kids went. Mariana had danced around their tiny apartment, laughing and crying at the same time. "We did it, Mama. We did it." But somewhere along the way, things changed. Mariana made new friends with big houses and expensive cars. She started spending weekends at their homes instead of coming back to the apartment. When she did visit, she looked uncomfortable, like the apartment had become too small for her. Then came the day Mariana brought Dylan home to meet Amara. He was polite and smiled a lot, but his eyes wandered around the apartment, taking in the peeling paint and the old furniture and the bathroom door that did not close all the way. After he left, Mariana had said quietly, "Mama, maybe when Dylan visits next time, we could meet at a restaurant instead?" That had hurt, but Amara understood. She did not want to embarrass her daughter. The last time they talked, 3 weeks ago, Mariana had called to tell her about the wedding plans. "It is going to be very fancy, Mama. At the Riverside Grand Hall. There will be important people there, Dylan's family and his business partners. I will be there." Amara had said immediately, "I will wear my best dress." There was a long silence on the phone. Then Mariana said, "Mama, I know you work so hard. If you cannot make it, I will understand. The wedding is on Saturday afternoon, and I know you usually work Saturdays." Amara's heart had squeezed tight. "I will ask for the day off." "Do not worry if you cannot get it," Mariana said quickly. "I mean, it is okay. We will celebrate together later, just you and me." But Amara heard what Mariana was really saying. She heard the worry in her daughter's voice, the fear that Amara would show up in her work clothes and embarrass her in front of all the fancy people. And here she was doing exactly that. The ceremony began. A man in a white robe stood under the flower arch and started talking about love and commitment and 2 souls becoming one. Amara tried to listen, but she kept noticing people turning around to look at her. A man in a gray suit whispered something to his wife, and they both stared. A woman with bright red lipstick wrinkled her nose when she caught sight of Amara's shoes. Amara wanted to sink into the floor and disappear. Dylan took Mariana's hands and began to speak. "Mariana, you are the light of my life. You are smart and beautiful and strong. You have overcome so much to become the amazing woman standing before me today. Overcome so much. Amara knew what that meant. It meant a tiny apartment. It meant having a mother who cleaned toilets for a living. It meant the past that Mariana was trying to leave behind. Mariana spoke next, her voice soft but clear. Dylan, you have given me a new life. You have shown me a world I only dreamed about. You make me feel safe and loved and worthy. Worthy. That word hung in the air like smoke. The man in the white robe smiled. Do you, Dylan, take Mariana to be your wife? I do, Dylan said, his voice strong and sure. And do you, Mariana, take Dylan to be your husband? Mariana opened her mouth, and for a tiny moment, she looked back over her shoulder toward the last row where Amara sat hidden behind the plant. Their eyes met across the room full of people and flowers and sparkling lights. I do, Mariana whispered. The room erupted in applause. People stood up, clapping and cheering. Dylan kissed Mariana, and she smiled, but Amara saw that her daughter's eyes were shiny with tears that were not just happy tears. Music filled the hall, joyful and loud. Dylan and Mariana walked back down the white carpet together, hand in hand, husband and wife. As they passed Amara's row, Mariana stepped slowed again. She looked right at her mother, and her lips moved, forming words that Amara could not hear over the music and applause. I am sorry, Mama. Then they were gone, swept away by the crowd of guests rushing forward to congratulate them. Amara stayed in her seat, feeling more alone than she had ever felt in her entire life. She wondered if she should just leave now, slip out quietly before anyone else noticed her. But before she could stand, a server approached her with a tray. The reception is starting. Please follow everyone to the dining area. Amara nodded and joined the stream of fancy people moving through a set of tall doors into an even bigger room. If you're enjoying this emotional story, please like, share, and subscribe. We love hearing from you, so tell us in the comments where you're watching from. The dining room was even more incredible than the ceremony hall. Round tables covered in gold cloth filled the space, each one decorated with tall candles and arrangements of white roses. The ceiling was painted to look like the sky at sunset, with soft pinks and oranges blending together. In the center of the room stood a wedding cake as tall as Amara, covered in sugar flowers that looked so real she wanted to touch them to make sure they were not. Amara found an empty seat at a table in the far corner, as far from the main table as possible. The main table sat on a raised platform and was decorated with even more flowers. That was where Mariana and Dylan would sit, with their closest family and friends. The other people at Amara's table looked at her strangely when she sat down, but no one said anything. A young woman in a purple dress scooted her chair a little bit away, as if Amara's work clothes might be catching. Waiters in white jackets brought out plates of food that Amara had never seen before. Tiny pieces of meat with sauce drizzled in fancy patterns. Vegetables cut into flower shapes. Everything looked too pretty to eat. Amara picked at her food, her stomach too twisted with worry to feel hungry. At the main table, Mariana and Dylan sat side by side, smiling and talking to people around them. Ada sat there too, along with a silver-haired man who must have been Dylan's father. They all looked perfect, like they belonged in a magazine. After dinner, the music changed to something slow and sweet. Dylan stood and offered his hand to Mariana. They walked to the center of the room where space had been cleared for dancing. As they began to move together in slow circles, everyone watched and smiled. Amara watched too, her heart swelling with pride and breaking with sadness at the same time. This was her baby girl, all grown up, starting a new life. But Amara felt like she was watching from behind a thick glass wall, close enough to see but too far away to touch. When the dance ended, people clapped. Then Dylan's father stood and tapped a spoon against his glass, making a ringing sound that cut through the chatter. The room went quiet. I would like to say a few words about my new daughter-in-law, he began. His voice was deep and confident. Mariana is a remarkable young woman. She is educated, elegant, and ambitious. She has worked incredibly hard to build a successful career, and I am proud to welcome her into our family. More applause. Amara's hand stayed in her lap. Ada stood next and took the microphone. Mariana has always been destined for greatness, she said, her voice smooth as silk. From the moment I met her, I knew she was special. She has class, intelligence, and grace. She is everything we could hope for in a wife for Dylan. Amara felt each word like a tiny cut. Everything Ada said was true, but none of it mentioned the little apartment or the 3 jobs or the nights Amara stayed awake, making sure Mariana had everything she needed for school. Then Dylan stood and said beautiful things about Mariana, about how she made him laugh and how smart she was and how lucky he felt. Everyone smiled and nodded. Finally, Dylan handed the microphone to Mariana. "Would you like to say anything, my love?" Mariana took the microphone. Her hands were shaking slightly. She looked out at all the faces watching her, all the important people in their expensive clothes, and then her eyes found Amara in the back corner. For a long moment, Mariana just stared at her mother. The room waited in silence. Then Mariana spoke, her voice quiet first, but growing stronger. "Yes, I do have something to say." She took a deep breath. "Everyone here has been so kind tonight. You have celebrated with us and said such wonderful things. But there is someone here who I need to talk about, someone who made all of this possible." Amara's heart started to race. "I need everyone to know the truth," Mariana continued. "I am not here because I am naturally elegant or classy or any of those things. I am here because of one person who sacrificed everything for me." Mariana stepped down from the platform, still holding the microphone. People turned in their chairs to see where she was going. She walked between the tables, her white dress rustling, heading straight toward the back corner, straight toward Amara. "Mama," Mariana said, and her voice cracked. "Please stand up." Amara's whole body went cold and hot at the same time. Every eye in the room turned to look at her. She wanted to disappear, to melt into her chair, but Mariana was standing right in front of her now, reaching out her hand. Slowly, Amara stood. Her legs felt like water. Mariana's eyes were full of tears. "This is my mother, Amara, and I need all of you to know what she did for me." The room was so quiet Amara could hear her own heartbeat. "My mama worked 3 jobs so I could go to school," Mariana said, her voice filling the whole room through the microphone. "She cleaned hospitals and offices and grocery stores. She came home every night with her hands cracked and bleeding, but she never complained. Not once." Amara felt tears running down her own face now. "When I needed books, she went without new shoes. When I needed a computer, she went without a winter coat. When I got into college, she worked even harder so I would not have to take loans. She gave me everything, and she asked for nothing in return." Mariana reached out and took her mother's rough, worn hand. "I was ashamed today when I saw you arrive in your work clothes. I am so ashamed of being ashamed. Because, Mama, you are my hero. You are the strongest, bravest, most loving person I have ever known." Amara could not speak. She could not breathe. "If you had not believed in me, I would not be standing here," Mariana said, her voice breaking. "Every good thing in my life exists because you love me enough to sacrifice for me. And I want everyone here to meet the woman who raised me, the woman who taught me what real strength looks like." Mariana pulled Amara forward, away from the corner, into the center of the room where everyone could see. Amara's worn shoes squeaked on the shiny floor. Her stained uniform showed under her old coat. She felt every eye on her, but this time it felt different. Someone started clapping, then another person, then another. Within seconds, the entire room was on its feet, applauding. Not the polite applause from before, but real, thunderous clapping that shook the crystal glasses on the tables. Amara looked around in shock. The woman in the red dress who had laughed at her earlier was crying and clapping. The man in the gray suit was nodding with respect in his eyes. Even Ada was clapping, though her face looked confused. Dylan came down from the platform and hugged Amara tight. "Thank you," he whispered in her ear. "Thank you for raising such an incredible woman." Mariana wrapped her arms around her mother, and Amara held her daughter close, this beautiful girl in the sparkling dress who had once been a tiny baby in a worn blanket. "I love you, Mama," Mariana whispered. "I am so sorry. I love you more than anything." "I love you too, my precious girl," Amara said, and all the pain and worry melted away like ice in the sun. The photographer rushed over and started taking pictures, flash after flash of light. Amara in her work clothes, standing next to Mariana in silk and crystals, a mother and daughter, together, exactly as they should be. Later, as the party continued, people came up to Amara one by one. They shook her hand and told her how moved they were. They said she had raised a wonderful daughter. They said she should be proud. And she was proud. Not a fancy wedding or the important people or the beautiful hall, but the moment when her daughter chose truth over appearance, when love became bigger than shame. As the night grew late and the candles burned low, Amara finally prepared to leave. She hugged Mariana one last time, holding her tight. "Thank you for coming, Mama," Mariana said. "Thank you for always coming, no matter what." Amara touched her daughter's face gently. "I will always come for you. Always." She walked out of the Riverside Grand Hall into the cool night air, still wearing her stained uniform and worn coat. But now she carried something else too, her daughter's love, spoken out loud for everyone to hear, and the knowledge that she had never been invisible at all. She had always been the hero of the story, and that was worth more than all the fancy dresses and crystal chandeliers in the world.